This is the Marusa progression. It goes like 4, 3, 6, 5 minor, 1. It's taken from the song Maru no Uchi Sadistic by Shina Ringo, a super huge Japanese artist in 1999, and it's become really popular in recent years. In fact, it's used in 30% of Japan's Billboard Top 50 songs, so around 15 of them. Here are some Japanese songs from recent years that you might recognize with this progression. It's also used in Western music, though not as much, with the most famous being Just the Two of Us. Everyone talks about the Royal Road progression, which is the 4, 5, 3, 6. It's an extremely satisfying way to go home. That's why it's called the Royal Road. But the Marusa progression is why I call the Dark Road home, because it's just so bumpy along the way, even though we still end up back on the 1 chord, C major. It just, in the end, it's not even clear that we want to be back home. It feels like there's more to come. In fact, many J-pop songs with this progression have lyrics and music videos associated with nighttime in the city, with YOASOBI actually having a song called Chasing Into the Night that was super popular during COVID. Many people on Japanese forums suspect that this progression became popular in recent years because of loneliness in big Japanese cities like Tokyo getting worse since COVID. But let's take a look at what actually makes this progression, the 4, 3, 6, 5 minor, 1, dark. So we start off on the 4 chord, which gives a sense of wanting to go somewhere, but it's not so desperate to go home like the 5 chord. So the 4 chord is often used as a departure point or starting point chord. Then we go half a step down to the 3 chord. So it's just half a step down, so it's like, okay, we're lingering a little bit. Where are we trying to go from here? In fact, the 3 chord is often used as a passing chord because it shares a lot of the same notes as other chords in the key, but it's not trying to go to any particular chord. So it's almost like that major station in big cities where most people go to transfer. So it's like, all right, we're at the transfer station now. Where are we trying to go next? So then we go to the minor 6 chord, which gives a sense of resolution or a kind of home feeling because the minor 6 chord is the relative minor chord for the major 1, C major, and which just means that the minor 6 key, so in this case the key of A minor, shares all the same notes as the key of the major 1 chord, so C major. All that is to say, A minor chord is an alter ego, darker version of the home chord, the C major chord. So it's like we're back somewhere, but it's not quite home. It's like a hideaway house. Then here comes the most interesting chord of this progression, the minor 5. Here it's like, whoa, what's going on? Because the 5 chord of a key is supposed to be a major chord, not a minor chord. Also, the 5 chord of a key is supposed to have the strongest tension, the strongest sense of desire to go back home. But again, it's played with a minor, so it's like, what are you trying to do? Like, do you actually want to go back home? Then why are you being minor? On top of that, it's often played with the 7th, which further adds to that kind of ambiguity. And finally, we go home to the 1 chord. But again, after all the bumps, it's like, we're not quite sure if we're back home or if we want to be back home. When playing this progression, the minor 5 and the major 1 are often played in the same bar to emphasize that kind of ambiguity of being unsure if we want to go back home, like this. Now, on recent J-pop and anime songs, you might hear a few different variations of the progression. So the first half, the 4-3-6, usually stays the same, but then the final minor 5 and major 1 home chord sometimes get omitted depending on the song. So, for example, a song might omit the final major 1 home chord to give it an even more ambiguous vibe. Or they might omit the minor 5 to make it less ambiguous. They might even not play the minor 5 and the major 1 and take it in a more neutral direction. There are 2 big things that makes this progression sound Japanese. One is the use of chord extensions, or in this case, 7th chords. Japanese musicians love using chord extensions to give it that kind of modal and jazzy sound. Just listen to this progression with and without the 7th chords. And here's with. Immediately sounds way more Japanese. The other thing that makes this chord progression sound Japanese is the use of a minor chord when a major chord is expected. So in this case, the 5 chord, G major, is made a minor chord to a G minor. The other common chord is the 4 chord. In this case, the F major in the key of C. It's also often made a minor, like this. To be fair, all these are tricks that Japanese music picked up from Western music, like making major chords minor and chord extensions and whatnot. But they've certainly taken all these different techniques and combined them to make their own unique sound. So I watched so many videos talking about Japanese chord progressions, but I never came across anyone talking about this, especially the final kind of minor 5 to the major 1. So I thought I'd make a video about it. Also, I just love Japan. I've actually in Japan now for a month, but shooting this from Airbnb and about to leave soon. So hope you guys liked the video and hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you.